Melrose.
And I'm Lex.
And we would like to introduce to you our new segment called CCM Brotherhood. Make sure to check out their monthly broadcast for this month called Identity.
So welcome to 2017.
Woo!
Who's excited about the new year? I know we are. So Mel, tell us, what are some of the things that you learned in 2016?
Actually, the biggest lesson that I learned is that if you don't know your own worth, people won't value you.
Oh, that's deep. I like that one, especially for our young girls out there. I think that's a good one to know.
What about you, Lex?
Well, I have to say one of the biggest things that I learned in 2016 is to give more than you take, especially in your relationships, whether it's your family, friends, romantic relationships, to give more than you take.
So let's get started.
Yes, so the topic of today is going to be forgiveness, and we're so excited about this one because it sets us all up for a wonderful new year when we have a clean slate. So the first thing we want to kind of talk about is what forgiveness actually is and how it can benefit us when we're doing a renewal for the new year. So forgiveness can be defined as wiping the slate clean, pardoning a debt, canceling a debt, forgiving past wrongs, right? So when someone wrongs us, we seek forgiveness oftentimes to repair the relationship that was damaged by the wrongdoing. And when we do this, we just always have to remember that forgiveness, especially in the eyes of God, is not necessarily for the other person. Forgiveness is 100% for you, the forgiver. So you can get rid of all the anger, the resentment, those negative feelings that you're harboring in your heart in order to make room for the wonderful things that God is getting ready to do for your life in the new year or at any stage of your life, for instance. So one passage that I love to reference when talking about forgiveness is Matthew chapter 6, verses 14 through 15. And I'm reading from the New International Version. And it says, "For if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their sins, your Father will not forgive yours." I love this passage because it just kind of speaks to the idea that God is always forgiving us. Like he is the most
all day,
graceful,
every
all day, every day. God is out here forgiving us, and that's because we're not perfect, and we have to understand that people in our lives aren't perfect either. So when we're forgiving them, again, it's for us and not necessarily for them.
You know, also, I think that God forgives us for a lot of things that we don't realize.
Oh, that's deep.
It's true. Like there's a lot of times where we mess up and maybe we don't know that we did something wrong, and that's when, God's forgiveness, I think, is extended the most, when he knows, they didn't know any better.
Yeah, they didn't know that they were doing
But
wrong.
I think in the same way, in our relationships, sometimes maybe someone can offend you or someone can hurt you, but they themselves, they don't know unless you have that open communication with them.
Yeah, that's a big one, having open communication for sure. And again, when you're the person who's harboring all that anger and resentment, the other person half the time is not feeling what you're feeling. So you living in a state of unforgiveness is negative. It's not a positive thing. So as we're walking into the new year, we just want to make sure that our hearts are clean and that whatever seeds that God is getting ready to sow and grow in our lives, that we have made room for. Another verse that I wanted to share was Ephesians 4, verses 31 and 32, again, the New International Version. And it says, and this is related again to the heart and the things that we can store. So get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ God forgave you. So this speaks directly to those feelings that we have when we have unforgiveness and when we're angry. So those negative things, we're getting rid of them in order to make room for what God has for us, just how God does for us all the time. He's always forgiving us.
So something that I love to remind myself when I have feelings of unforgiveness or maybe even anger is to look at my thought process. And it's good to always remember that in everything that we do and in every situation that we are in, God is always trying to teach us something. And that goes along with the passage Philippians 2:13. And it says, "What I'm getting at, friends, is that you should simply keep on doing what you're doing from the beginning. When I was living among you, you lived in responsive obedience. Now that I'm separated from you, keep it up. Better yet, redouble your efforts. Be energetic in your life of salvation, reverent and sensitive before God. That energy is God's energy. and energy deep within you. God himself willing and working at what will give him the most pleasure. So God is always working within us. And if you can just shift your thinking instead of focusing on hurt, because a lot of times when we have unforgiveness, it's because we feel that hurt and we have that pain, and it's really natural to focus on that pain. It's like when you get even like a paper cut. Oh my God, those are the worst.
They are the worst. They're tiny. They're not even
and
big
they're
things.
tiny, but you focus on that paper cut because it hurts you. And the same way that you focus on that pain, you have to shift your thinking and focus on the opportunity to share God's love. And it's hard to forgive somebody that maybe is not sorry, that maybe they did something wrong, and God is telling you to apologize. That's really difficult. I love this quote that I found, and it says, "I never knew how strong I was until I had to forgive someone who wasn't sorry and accept an apology I never received."
I love that, actually.
That also goes along with Luke 17:1-4, and it says, "He said to his disciples, 'Hard trials and temptations are bound to come. Too bad for whoever brings them on. Better to wear a millstone necklace and take a swim in the deep blue sea than give even one of these dear little ones a hard time. Be alert. If you see your friend going wrong, correct him. If he responds, forgive him, even if it's personal against you, and repeat it 7 times through the day. Even 7 times he says, 'I'm sorry, I won't do it again,' forgive him." So even when we don't receive an apology, and when we do, we should always respond the same way, in obedience to God, us sharing God's love to others.
I love that. That's a good verse.
Another thing that I recommend everybody does, and this is something that everyone knows, but I just want to reiterate it, and it's prayer.
You can never have too much prayer.
If you're in a situation where maybe you can't apologize, there's some people that hold grudges against people that have passed away, and that can be really hard because you can't talk to the person. So if you're in a situation where you can't apologize, or maybe it's still challenging for you, take it to God. And I know that sounds simple, but for me, I used to, maybe when I first started my faith, where I did the whole kneeling by the bed and praying, and it's not wrong to do that at all. I still do it sometimes, but prayer is simply talking to God. So sometimes when I'm in the car and I'm stuck on I-4,
that happens.
I will just play some music and just talk to God, and oh my gosh, this and that, and just like he's my friend. And if I'm angry, then I tell him that I'm angry. If I'm sad, I tell him that I'm sad. And I talk to him in the car, I talk to him in the shower. So just vent to him and ask him to place that feeling of wanting to forgive in your heart, because it's not going to get there on its own sometimes. So the goal is to spend the least amount of time angry as possible.
Right.
So whether for you that's going from 2 weeks to 1 week, or from 2 days to 2 hours, the Bible always tells us not to go to bed angry. In Ephesians 4:26-29, it says, "Go ahead and be angry." So we're allowed to be angry. God knows that we're human. You do well to be angry, but don't use your anger as a fuel for revenge. And that's a topic for another day.
Noted.
Noted. Topic for another day. Revenge. I love that show.
Revenge?
Yes, you never seen Revenge?
I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it.
It's so good.
Is it on Netflix?
I believe it's either on Netflix or Hulu.
Ooh, I have Netflix.
But it's so good.
Oh, okay.
So good.
Also noted.
Side note. Don't go to bed angry. Don't give the devil that kind of foothold in your life.
Ooh, can I say something about that?
Yes.
So, one of the things that I went to, they call it watch night service. I'm sure other people call it different things, where you bring in the new year at church. And one of the things that my home pastor was talking about, he mentioned the fact that in general, overall, forgiveness, life, otherwise, if you are harboring feelings of just negative feelings, so anger, resentment, personal self-doubt and all those things, you always have to understand that those things aren't of the Lord, those things aren't of God. God came to be a source of peace and joy in our lives. So when we're existing, or we have parts of ourselves that are existing in those negative spaces, those spaces oftentimes become places where the devil can attack us the most, and when we're the weakest. So it's important to identify those things, like you were saying, and don't let the devil get in there and make things more than what they are. Go to God, like you were saying, in any way that works best for you, and try to get rid of those feelings as soon as possible.
Yeah, and the enemy knows if you are easily angered.
Yes.
That is actually a thing. There are people that you can annoy and annoy and annoy and annoy and they don't get mad. But if that's not you, then you need to know that.
It's not me.
Another favorite thing that I love to do is listen to music. And there is power in music. There is healing power in music. Nobody can deny that. And what I like to do is make a playlist. I have a special playlist on my YouTube channel that is private. But if you would like to see it, you can just let me know and I'll send you the link.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
But I have a list on there and it's called Your Praise. And I'm very, very, very selective with what I put on there. I have like a separate playlist for songs, of course, that I just like listen to in the car or anything like that. But that specific playlist is for when I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling disappointed, or any negative feelings that I have. I literally just get on there, whether it's on my phone or on my laptop, wherever I'm at, and I just play that playlist. And honestly, like, honest to God, every time I play that playlist, like, I just feel better. I don't know why, but it's because those specific songs that I have selected to be on there are songs that really, really touch my heart and just kind of like shift my feelings or shift my thinking, and they bring me to that place where I can just be with God and just focus on his love for me, and you know, every song has a different message. But all the songs that I have selected on there, they just make me feel better. And so I would suggest that you make your own playlist and don't think about it when you kind of like, because when you know that you're feeling angry or that you're sad, or maybe you just don't feel right and you can't put your finger on what it is, just play it. Don't think about it, don't analyze it, just play it, and you'll see that God will transform you, and you'll see that he'll be working in you when you listen to the music. And the Bible does talk about the power, the healing powers of music. It's like the story with Samuel and David. In 1 Samuel 16:14-23, it says, "At that very moment the Spirit of God left Saul, and in its place a black mood sent by God settled on him. He was terrified. Saul's advisors said, This awful tormenting depression from God is making your life miserable. Let us look for someone who can play the harp. When the black mood from God moves in, he'll play his music and you'll feel better." Saul told his servants, "Go ahead, find me someone who can play well and bring him to me." One of the young men spoke up, "I know someone, I've seen him myself, the son of Jesse of Bethlehem. An excellent musician, and God is with him." So Saul sent messengers to request Jesse. Saul sent the word back to Jesse, "Thank you, David will stay here."
He's with us now.
"He's just the one I was looking for. I'm very impressed by him." After that, whenever the bad depression from God tormented Saul, David got out his harp and played. Then Saul would calm down and he would feel better as the moodiness lifted.
That's amazing.
So the word does tell us that there is something really special about music. And some of the artists that I wanted to suggest that are some of my favorite are, I don't know if you've heard of Elevation Church.
I think I have.
They're located in North Carolina, so they have worship music on YouTube. I'm not sure if they're on iTunes. I'm pretty sure that they are. And oh, it's amazing. Like, you just have to listen to it. Every time I play it, I just feel like I'm there with them. It's like a group of people. I feel like that love and that support, and just a room full of people worshiping God. Like, that's just amazing. And there's a lot of songs like that by Hillsong, Carrie Job. Yeah. Southeastern University worship is actually one of my favorites as well. There's Bethel and Israel Houghton, of course.
Yeah.
And I actually learned from my friend 2 other ones today. It's called Chill Cafe and also the Secret Place Instrumental. These are actually kind of like jazzy
that sounds like my style.
Yeah, instrumental jazzy. So you know, you're not always in the same mood. I don't always want to listen to gospel. I don't always want to listen to like Christian indie rock or anything like that. So you have different moods. They actually have, it's called Christafari. It's actually Christian reggae.
Really?
Yes.
That sounds like fun.
It's fun. When we were having our bonfire and Viviana was playing it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
And it was so fun, yeah. So if you have different moods, you can always find someone to kind of soothe that. And maybe if you're not in the mood to listen to Christian music, then if you want something to just calm you down, there's actually some playlists on YouTube it's called La Belle Musique. And I'll link everything down below. I'll like make a list of all of these. But that type of music is just very calming. It's like ambient music. So I would suggest that if you're not in the clear headspace, that you just play some music like that.
I love it. Those are some good tips. I'm definitely going to look into the Christafari. Because that sounds like
You're going to be like, where has this been on my
I know, right? This is what's been missing. So, one of the things that I like to do, in addition to listening to music like Mel, is I like to write things down, almost to the point where it's weird. But I almost write everything down. And so in this case, if you're one of those people like me where you like to see the words, I think when I see what I'm dealing with on paper, it makes it more real for me. So in the case of forgiveness, like Mel was saying, writing down or just explaining to God in any way that's comfortable for you what it is that you're struggling with in unforgiveness, because it's difficult. It's not an easy process. And no one is going to tell you that you're going to ask God to help you forgive and then 5 minutes later all the pain and hurt and torment and memories are going to go away. But, that sounds like a lot. But it's not going to disappear. However, you can start the process by owning your feelings and sometimes admitting to God what it is you're struggling with so he can help you get past it. So just an example here, writing down, Lord, I am struggling with forgiveness because I don't want to forgive the person. I feel like they don't deserve my forgiveness. That's a real thing. Sometimes you feel like people don't deserve to be forgiven. I feel as if I cannot forgive this because, just fill in the blank. Or additionally, I'm hurting because I was wronged by this person. So again, just putting it out there, like, why am I struggling with this? Why do I feel like I can't forgive? And then just being really raw and honest with God and asking him to help take away those feelings.
I like that word, raw.
Yeah. That's what it is. It reminds me of like one of my friends was telling me, because I was talking to him and he was like, oh, I don't know how to pray. And I remember I used to feel that way too. I didn't know how to pray or how to talk to God.
I still feel like this sometimes.
Yeah, like all the time. Like, I'm like, am I doing it right? But sometimes it really
I'm
is.
Like, God, are you there?
Yeah, like I'm talking to you. And sometimes it's just that. Most of the time it is just that, having a conversation with God. And that's what's beautiful about Christianity and having a relationship with God. The same way you have a relationship with your best friend and you can be like, girl, my boss was terrible today and I'm over it and I'm venting to you about it.
I'm over it. I'm so done.
I'm quitting today. Yeah, exactly. You can do that. You can do the same thing with God, especially when it comes to things like unforgiveness and things that are going on in your heart, because I guarantee you it's a good first step. It's not going to be perfect, but it's a good first step. And again, at the end of the day, forgiveness is 100% for you. So you taking the steps to forgive people who have wronged you is just going to clear up so many other things in your life. And I promise you, God is going to work in wonderful ways when you let go of the things that are hindering you from the greater things that he has for you. So yeah, that's just a fun little tip I had. And then one verse that I had to support that, Colossians 3, verse 13. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. You'll notice that phrase or that kind of theme repeats over and over when we talk about forgiveness in the scripture. Forgive others as the Lord has forgiven you. Give others grace as the Lord has graced you. That'll repeat over and over again because it's so true. Like, it's just, like Mel was saying before, there are things that we have done that we don't even know have been wrong. And God forgives us every day. We are able to repent of our sins and every morning walk out of the house with a clean slate. So being able to do that for our fellow people is not the easiest thing to do, but it is the godly thing to do. And it's just going to make you feel a lot better.
And you know what I think is the key to everything, the way you said that everything is repeated in the word, is generosity. God is generous. He's generous in mercy. He's generous in forgiveness. He's generous in love. He's generous in everything. So if there's only one principle in the Bible that you should go by, it's generosity.
I like that. That's so true. The Lord goes above and beyond for us.
So make sure to check out our newly designed
website. Yes.
We hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next month. Make sure to tune in every first Saturday of the month right here on our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe and leave any comments of what your thoughts are. What are your goals for 2017? So we'll see you next time.
All right, guys. See you next time. Bye.